Yes.
However, teachers are still incredibly underpaid, and if we want Carroll County to stay one of the best education systems, we can't risk losing them 12 more hours. And so I'm wondering what the board has discussed as far as ways to continue to improve the funding of our schools, specifically in regards to teachers' pay.
You got that?
Somebody repeat some of the questions.
Yeah. So you had asked a question with respect to how are we going to continue to fund teacher salaries to compete with the other counties' salaries?
If I may on that one, teacher pay has gone up in the last 4 years, at least 4% a year, and it's been improving. We have now with the Board of Education worked out at least collaborated on the budget and how they have aligned with our budget over the next 5 years, or at least try to get the school budget in line with that. And then Kerwin's up in the air out there, what that's going to do. But if where we're seeing it is, it's a 3% increase to the Board of Education budget. Now, how that's allocated to the teachers is up to them through negotiations. But then Kerwin comes in on top of that. I expect, and this is my opinion only, that I think education is going to slowly get back into the realm where they're going to be well paid for what they do. It's a slow process. It's not going to happen overnight. We took years of no raises, and it was flat for years. And I think in the future, you're going to see that slowly climb back. It's not going to happen as one big lump. It's going to be a slow process. And the board here has been very committed to supporting education and working with the Board of Education, and our quarterly meetings have really helped a lot. And from when I was in the classroom to where it is now, it's a totally different ballgame.
Thank you.
Let me just add one thing specifically. Keeping Carroll County community values and culture intact. So how we're receiving that money and the funding is also very important. The principles of legalized gambling and legalized marijuana are counter to our community's values. It is not counter to the increased pay necessary for our teachers for great education, but we're going to be continuing to work a path forward to getting pay raises like we did this last year. But I don't want to compromise those principles with the principles of Carroll County character and values. So.
I'd just like to add that ever since the three of us have been commissioners, we have given enough money to the Carroll County public school systems. Now they determine how that money is used, but every year there has been a pay raise for teachers since we've been on the board.
Anyone else?
And since I brought it up, I'm adamant about it. It just seems to be a little bit of a double negative to me if we're out there rah-rahing about sports betting and gambling and legalizing marijuana in order to pay to educate our kids. There just seems to be something wrong with that equation in my mind. So for me, it's about accountability. I've said since I've been in this seat, and those on the Board of Education in Carroll County Public Schools have heard me. And I say it because I've got a daughter who's a teacher. I've got a wife who's a nurse in the school system. I've got a brother who's a building maintenance supervisor. I've got a mom and dad that retired from the system. I've got two sister-in-laws that are one-on-one assistants in the school system. So you get my theme here and to what I say. I truly think it comes down to accountability. If there are ways in which we can redirect money instead of making sure that there are supervisory ratios that somebody tells us we have to have, I'm against that. I believe the money should go to the boots on the ground. So if it needs to be rearranged and we got to get maybe one or two less supervisors in order to get that money into where the folks are actually one-on-one with our kids, then that's where I'm coming from on that statement.
Actually, that is happening.
And it is.
presently with
Right.
the new board and superintendent. That is actually happening, so.
And you'll hear that on the state level as well. As a matter of fact, this morning at 11 a.m., Governor Hogan is releasing his budget for this year. And you'll hear him use accountability as well. You got to make sure when you're putting the money out there in the lump sums that it is, that it's getting used in the categories that we want it to be used in.
Any other questions?